Every night you slide under the covers expecting warmth. Instead, your feet feel like blocks of ice. You rub them together, you tuck them under the pillow, you pull on thick socks, and still, they stay cold. That stubborn, nightly chill in your feet is not just an annoyance, it is a signal. Your body is trying to tell you something important. Tonight, we are going to decode that signal together. I am a geriatrician with more than 2.5 decades of clinical practice, and I have seen thousands of patients walk into my office with the same complaint: cold feet. Every night. They thought it was just aging. They thought it was poor circulation. They thought it was something they had to live with. Most of them were wrong. What I am about to share with you could change the way you understand that nightly chill forever. There is a hidden warning sign, one that appears hours before a serious vascular event that almost no one talks about. And I am going to tell you exactly what to feel for in your own wrist before this video is over. Stay close. Let us begin with the crisis. Cold feet at night is not a small problem. It is not a quirk of aging. For millions of people over the age of 60, it is the first whisper of a much louder conversation their body is trying to have. When your feet stay cold despite warm blankets and a heated room, your blood vessels are not delivering sufficient warmth to the furthest points of your body. Think of it this way. Your feet are the end of the road for your circulation. They are the last stop on a long highway. If traffic is jammed anywhere along that highway, the last stop suffers first. But here is what most doctors never tell their patients in plain language. Your feet are not just cold. They are cold because something further upstream is failing. That something could be your arteries hardening. It could be your nerves misfiring. It could be your thyroid slowing down. It could be your blood losing its capacity to carry oxygen. Each of these is a different disease. Each has a different treatment. And each, if ignored, can quietly steal the independence you have spent a lifetime building. Let me say that again because it matters. The reason your feet are cold at night will determine whether the answer is a pair of warmer socks or a conversation with your doctor about medication. So we have to move past the symptom and into the cause. Now let us talk about why your doctor might miss this. Many physicians hear cold feet and assume it is a circulation complaint. They check the pulses in your feet, find them present, and send you home with advice to wear thicker socks. That advice is not wrong, but it is incomplete. Because cold feet can be a symptom of 6 very different conditions, and only one of them is about circulation in the traditional sense. The first and most common cause is something called peripheral artery disease. Let me translate that for you. Think of your arteries as the garden hoses you used to drag across the lawn every summer. For years, those hoses were flexible. Water flowed freely. But over the decades, micro tears developed in the lining. Your body, in its well-meaning way, patched those tears with a sticky substance called plaque. That plaque is made of cholesterol, calcium, and cellular debris. It is like spackling paste on a damaged wall. Here is the problem. When plaque builds up and the hose material becomes stiff from years of use, the hose cannot expand anymore. Pressure builds. Blood, which is supposed to flow freely, gets squeezed. And the first place you feel that squeeze is at the very end of the line, your toes and your feet. That is why one foot often feels colder than the other. The blockage is usually uneven. One side of the highway has more traffic than the other. And that is not just discomfort, that is danger. When the hose gets stiff and narrow, a tiny clot, no bigger than a grain of sand, can suddenly block the flow completely. When that happens in your leg, you can lose the leg. When it happens in your heart, you have a heart attack. When it happens in your brain, you have a stroke. Cold feet at night can be the earliest, quietest warning that your arteries are sick. But arteries are only the first suspect. The second cause hits the nerves, not the blood vessels. This is called peripheral neuropathy, and it is most commonly seen in people with diabetes or pre-diabetes. Imagine the electrical wiring in an old house. For years, the insulation around those wires protected them. But over time, that insulation cracked and peeled. Now the wires are exposed. They short out. They send false signals. That is what happens in your feet when sugar levels run high for years. Sugar attaches to the proteins that insulate your nerve fibers. That process is called glycation. The nerve loses its ability to feel properly. It loses its ability to regulate temperature. It misfires. And one of the most common ways it misfires is by telling your brain that your feet are freezing, even when they are not. This is the temperature paradox that so many older adults describe. The room is warm, the socks are thick, but the feet register as ice cold. Here is the dignity layer. Neuropathy is not just about cold. It is about losing your ability to feel a blister, a cut, or a burn. Every year, thousands of people over the age of 65 lose a toe or a foot because they stubbed a toe in the dark and never felt the wound. The wound got infected, the infection spread, and by the time someone noticed, the damage was irreversible. Cold feet, in this case, is not a symptom to ignore. It is a window into nerve damage that may already be underway. The third cause is something called Raynaud's phenomenon. This one is simpler to grasp. In Raynaud's, the small blood vessels in your fingers and toes overreact to cold or stress. They clamp down, hard, like a fist squeezing a straw. Blood stops flowing. Your toes turn white, then blue, then red as the spasm releases. This is more common in younger women, but I see it in older adults too, especially during winter nights. It is rarely life-threatening, but it is uncomfortable, and it is a sign that your vascular system is hypersensitive. The fourth cause is hypothyroidism, a sluggish thyroid gland. Your thyroid is the thermostat for your metabolism. When it slows down, your entire body runs cooler. You feel cold in rooms where everyone else feels fine. Your hands and feet are often the first to register that change because they are at the periphery. The thermostat is turned down and the furnace is burning low. Hypothyroidism is common in older adults, and it is easy to miss because the symptoms creep in slowly. Cold feet, mild fatigue, slightly drier skin. The fifth cause is anemia, particularly iron deficiency anemia. Iron is the carrier molecule in your red blood cells. It is what allows your blood to grab oxygen from your lungs and deliver it to the rest of your body, including your feet. When iron is low, the delivery system stalls. Your tissues do not get enough oxygen, and one of the first signs is a persistent feeling of cold in the hands and feet. This is especially common in older women and in people who take medications that quietly reduce iron absorption. Now, before we go further, I want to honor the fact that you have stayed with me through this much detail. That tells me you are taking your own health seriously. So let me say something our community talks about often. When you understand that cold feet at night is not one diagnosis but 5 possible diagnoses, you stop reaching for the socks and start reaching for the calendar to schedule those tests. That single shift in thinking is the difference between treating a symptom and solving a problem. Let us now look at the dangerous mistake. The most dangerous mistake I see in my clinic every single week is this. People assume that warming the feet is the answer. They pile on blankets, they use heating pads, they take long, hot foot baths before bed. They buy expensive slippers with memory foam. And while these can feel comforting in the moment, they can mask a deeper problem while it grows. Here is the specific danger. Heating pads and hot water bottles can burn the feet of patients whose nerves are already damaged. Because the nerves cannot feel temperature accurately, the foot cannot warn the brain that the surface is too hot. I have treated serious burns from heating pads set on low. I have seen foot-soaked scalds that required weeks of wound care. The danger is not the warming itself. The danger is using warmth to silence a warning sign. When you warm your feet and they feel better, you stop thinking about the cause. That is how these diseases progress in silence. There is a second dangerous mistake. Many older adults self-treat with over-the-counter circulation boosters sold in pharmacies and online. Most of these have no real evidence behind them. They are marketed aggressively because the symptom is so common and so frustrating. But masking the symptom with an ineffective supplement is not the same as treating the disease. It is putting tape over a check engine light while the engine quietly overheats. The third dangerous mistake is ignoring asymmetry. If one foot is reliably colder than the other, that is not normal aging. That is a vascular signal. It deserves an evaluation. It deserves a simple, painless test called an ankle brachial index, where a clinician compares the blood pressure in your arm to the blood pressure in your ankle. That single test, done in under 5 minutes, can tell you whether peripheral artery disease is silently reducing your circulation long before you have a crisis. This is exactly the kind of practical health wisdom our community was built around. Thousands of people have joined our weekly protocols, including the 7-day circulation assessment we released last month. If you want to receive the exact blueprint we use to track symptoms like nightly cold feet, plus the simple self-check that tells you in under 60 seconds whether your arteries are healthy, tap the notification bell. We send this kind of guidance out several times a week, and our community members say it has changed the way they think about their bodies. Now let us move to the home solution phase. There is a great deal you can do at home before you ever step into a clinic. The first move is the simplest and the most powerful. Walk more. Walking is medicine for your vascular system. Every step you take causes the muscles of your calf to contract. Those contractions act like a second heart, pumping venous blood back up toward your core and pulling fresh arterial blood down to your feet. When you sit for hours, that secondary pump stalls. When you walk, it comes alive. Aim for 30 minutes most days, but break it up. 3 10-minute walks count as much as one 30-minute walk. The second home solution is temperature training. Before bed, soak your feet in warm, not hot water for 10 minutes. The water should feel comfortable to the inside of your wrist, no hotter than a comfortable bath. Pat them dry. Then put on a clean pair of cotton or wool socks. Avoid tight elastic bands at the ankle. You want the vessels to have room to expand. If you have diabetes or neuropathy, test the water temperature with a thermometer. 93 to 95 degrees Fahrenheit is safe. The third solution is dietary. The foods that help your vessels also help your feet. Garlic, ginger, beets, and dark leafy greens all support nitric oxide production, the compound that tells your blood vessels to relax and open. Think of nitric oxide as the lubricant for your stiff garden hoses. The more you have, the more flexible your pipes stay. Hydration matters too. When you are even mildly dehydrated, your blood thickens slightly and your vessels clamp down. A simple glass of water an hour before bed, 2 hours before, can make a measurable difference by the time you are under the covers. The fourth solution is daily elevation with intention. If you sit at a desk for long stretches, prop your feet up for 10 minutes at a time. Elevation fights gravity and helps veins return blood efficiently. Do not keep them elevated all night unless your doctor has specifically told you to. At night, you want blood flowing freely through your limbs, not pooling. But here is what I really want you to hear. None of these solutions replace a proper evaluation. If your feet are cold every night for more than a few weeks, ask your doctor for 3 simple tests. The ankle brachial index for artery health, a hemoglobin A1C for blood sugar, and a thyroid panel plus a complete blood count. These 3 tests together cover the 5 causes I have described today. They are inexpensive, fast, and they give you a clear answer instead of a guessing game. Hundreds of people in our community have come back with stories about how that simple testing protocol changed their lives. A retired teacher discovered her cold feet were an early sign of hypothyroidism, and within 6 weeks of treatment, she was sleeping through the night for the first time in years. A grandfather found out that his one-sided cold foot was a partial arterial blockage that we were able to address before it became an emergency. These are not miracles. These are just good medicine, applied early, before the loud symptoms arrived. Now let us arrive at permanent prevention. The framework we have been building is not just for tonight. It is for the next 20 years of your life, because the choices you make today decide whether your feet stay warm, your legs stay strong, and your independence stays intact. Permanent prevention begins with the understanding that your vascular system is dynamic. It rebuilds itself every single day. The lining of your arteries, the endothelium, is constantly being repaired and renewed. The food you eat, the sleep you get, the stress you manage, every one of these inputs is either helping that repair or hurting it. Smoking hurts it. Sitting hurts it. Sugar hurts it. Walking helps it. Leafy greens help it. Sleep helps it. Kindness to your own nervous system helps it. Permanent prevention also means regular monitoring. Once a year, ask your doctor to check the pulses in your feet. Once a year, request those 3 tests I mentioned: ankle brachial index, A1C, and thyroid panel. Once a year, look at your own feet. Look at the color of your toes. Look at the texture of your skin. Notice if hair growth on your toes has changed. Notice if your toenails are growing more slowly than they used to. These are the small signs that whisper before the loud ones arrive. Permanent prevention includes the discipline of moving every day. It includes choosing whole foods most of the time. It includes managing stress so that your cortisol does not chronically constrict your vessels. It includes sleep hygiene so that your body has time to repair its endothelium. Each one of these is a brick in the wall of your independence. None of them is glamorous. All of them are powerful when added together. I want to close where we began, with that nightly chill. The cold feet you feel when you climb into bed. The ones that wake you up at 2 in the morning. The ones that no amount of socks seems to fix. Now let me tell you the hidden warning I promised you earlier. There is a subtle but important sign that your arteries are under stress hours before a major vascular event. It is something you can check yourself tonight in your own bedroom. It is called pulse symmetry. Sit up on the edge of your bed. Place 2 fingers on the inside of one wrist, just below the thumb, until you feel your pulse clearly. Then move to the inside of your other wrist and feel that pulse. They should feel equal. They should feel like one heart beating in 2 places. But if one side feels weaker than the other, if the wave is smaller, if it arrives later, if it seems to vanish when you press lightly, that is a red flag. It can mean that one side of your circulatory highway is narrowed and your heart is pushing harder to get the blood through. Many patients have caught major vascular problems early, long before a stroke or a heart attack, simply because they noticed that one wrist felt different from the other. Do not panic if you find a difference, but do call your doctor. Schedule that ankle brachial index. Let them look, because the gap between catching this in the quiet weeks and catching it after the loud emergency can be the difference between walking your granddaughter down the aisle next spring and watching from a chair. If your feet are cold tonight, your body is not complaining. It is communicating. It is asking you to listen. And now, finally, you have the framework to hear what it has been trying to say. Recognize the crisis. Find the hidden cause. Avoid the dangerous mistake. Apply the home solution. Commit to permanent prevention. That is not just a checklist. That is a way of respecting the wisdom of your own body. We have a community of people who meet here regularly to translate science into the kind of practical wisdom that keeps us independent, sharp, and moving with ease. If you want the exact printable checklist of the tests and home solutions I covered today, plus the simple self-pulse check we just walked through, subscribe and tap the bell. Tomorrow, we will release part 2 of this series, the 4-week circulation restoration plan. A step-by-step protocol you can start on Monday morning. Your feet have been trying to tell you something for months, maybe years. Now you know. And now, finally, you can answer them back. Good night, sleep warm, and take care of those feet. They are carrying you further than you realize.